Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you so much, Brother Shahran, for allowing me to speak in this program. And thank you also my brothers, sisters in this program who are really patient listening to the lecture. Today, our last class, the topic for today is virtue of pain. Nursi, actually, Nursi's contribution in psycho-spiritual healing. Nowadays, many people speak about the term or word of psycho-spiritual healing is everywhere. Many people speak about psycho-spiritual healing today. Yeah, it seems that the whole world is suffering and they need a healing from psycho-spiritual perspective. Yeah. So today we're going to listen or to explain a little bit about Sanusi contribution in this field. Sanusi, of course, he is in a modern, not really very modern now, but in the 60s. You know, he died in the 60s, so he involved in both First World War and Second World War, and most throughout his lifetime he was suffering. Yeah, so during this period, throughout his life, he has written book of so many volumes, Risalatun Nur, and there are different category of his writing. So I just take one from his from Risalah Nur about how to face or how to cope with pain or suffering or difficulty in life, not necessarily physical pain, but spiritual and emotional pain, difficulty in life, and so on and so forth. So last week, we mentioned about the significance of contemplation, or in modern literature, they call it as science of metacognition, that related to how human brain works. Yeah. So when we look at our literature, Muslim literature, we find there are so many great Muslim scholars since an early time of Islam. We started with Al-Balkhi very early century of Islam, already spoke about the significance of cognitive dimension or domain of human and related to human behavior. So and I also spoke about Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi on the same or similar topic, which is about the significance of contemplation. And I still remember, I'm so impressed with the contribution of Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi, that's the focus on this concept of contemplation, deriving Quranic terminologies on the word tafakkur, tazakkur, tadabbur, and all this, which is very useful in dealing with human behavior or relationship between a brain, between faculty, reason, and human behavior. If we will really want to change human behavior, we have to understand how our brain works, because it is the source, or there are connection between the two. As I remember few more. I try to reflect or to bring back what has Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi mentioned about things or terms related to contemplation, which we start with fiqh or tafakkur. Tafakkur is fiqh is the beginning and the key to all that is good. Yeah. So if we want to have good behavior, we have to start with tafakkur. We have to start in our thinking, in our cognitive part. Yeah. So the significance and value of tafakkur is the most virtuous and beneficial action the heart can engage. So from cognitive to the heart, yeah, this in relationship between tafakkur and the heart. And fiqh is what takes a person from death and slumber of distraction to being awake and alive, from positive to negative. Yeah. And tafakkur builds the hearts and tazakkur preserve it. So tazakkur is another level. Tafakkur and tazakkur together are the seeds of knowledge. Yeah. So tafakkur bring knowledge to our cognitive portion of our body. Yeah. And like tafakkur and tazakkur is like the rain comes and nourish them, and tazakkur, remember, is the vaccination. In other words, without tafakkur, the heart is just like a piece of land. If it can either grow with seeds of your thought, or your greatest enemy can seize the land and sow whatever he wish. Yeah. So tafakkur, the active process of bringing thought resulting from environmental or innate inspiration into the conscious cognitive space. Yeah. And tazakkur, bringing awareness of knowledge that require attention after a person has been distracted from it or it is unseen to him. Certainly, those who are righteous, this is referring to Surah Al-A'raf, verse 201. Certainly, those who are righteous, when a party of shaitan touch them, they immediately remember. So the process of it start with a tafakkur, and then it move on with tazakkur. When tazakkur, and then something happened. This is the thing that I want to highlight now. When there is tafakkur, so there is another step here. We call it as insight or basira. Yeah. So the whole discussion of Sayyid Nursi is actually about basira, about insight he got through the process of tafakkur on the creation of Allah, on what is happening, on the sickness or any created things, or in our life, worldly life. Yeah. So Sayyid Nursi consider, or during his tafakkur, he derived, or he actually get insight from Quran and Hadith, of course, guided by the Quran and Hadith. He see, or he perceive life as test. So as he mentioned here, tribulation as divine mercy and justice of Allah. That's how he explained test, or he perceived test. Tribulation as divine mercy and justice of Allah. This, mashallah, is really great reflection of Sayyid Nursi. So this is the first insight he got when it comes to it comes to how he analyzed this human life. So he gives three reasons here. Tribulation as divine mercy and justice. He say, first, God created the whole universe through his mercy. And the whole creation are manifestation of God's name and attributes. And the Lord of all dominions has disposal over his dominion as he wishes. Yeah. So this is one. And second, he said, disasters and sickness make life refined. Yeah. So it is very useful to have things looks to be negative, like disasters and sicknesses, but with negative, he changed to positive. Say, with disasters, with sickness, with hardness, with difficulty in life, life become refined, perfected, strengthened, and advanced, and that it yield result, attains perfection, and fulfill its own purpose. Otherwise, life will be monotonous without challenge. So that's how he perceived. This is his reflection. Another reflection, he said, this worldly realm is the field of testing. It is the abode of service and place of worship, sicknesses and misfortunes. It is not the place of pleasure, reward or requital. Allah says in the Quran, and that he may test the believers with a fair trial. Yeah. So Allah mentioned many times concept of test in the Quran, like in Surah Al-Mulk, and many part of the Quran mention actually as the conclusion of this is life is test. Yeah. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. This is one of the words in Surah Al-Mulk, verse 2, to reflect what we mentioned here. Yeah. Human beings tend to forget Allah. This is by nature. Then when they are prosperous, and they only remember Him when they are afflicted with suffering. This is a human being is like this. Yeah. When we are sick, then you remember Allah. When we are having difficulty, then we remember Allah. When we are in hospital suffering from pain, we make dua to Allah to give us to continue to life, not to die, for example. But then when we are okay, we are healed, then we forget Allah. This is a human being. Yeah. Suffering as virtue enable us to contemplate that God alone suffices. And that we need to submit ourselves to the providence of Allah in perfect trust, contentment, gratitude, and obedience. Yeah. So suffering, difficulty, pain, hardship in life, teaching us to contemplate, and then and it is Allah alone that we need to submit ourselves. Yeah. So it is through pain, it is through the pain of confronting and resolving problems that we grow strong, sturdy, and mature. Yeah. So a lot of benefit, or a lot of significant, there must be reason or hikmah, as we always say this, for every pain, every suffering that we are facing. Yeah. So illness is equal to worship. Illness is equal to worship. Yeah. Okay. Usually we all the time encounter that to worship. Form of worship like salat, zakat, doing good to people. This is a form of worship. Yeah, other than mentioned in the pillars of Islam, pillar for Islam, there are 5 there, and then general worship, for example, concept of worship, muamalah with people, our relationship, interpersonal relationship, and all this. Considered as ibadah if we have intention proper. But it's not only worship we can consider as ibadah. Through pain also is considered as ibadah. This is through the reflection of Sayyid Nursi. So he said we can get other form of worship again through suffering and pain physically and emotionally. So if we are suffering physical pain, it's like we can make ibadah. Or emotionally suffering also considered as an ibadah, provided the way, for example, the way we face this. Yeah. People who are spiritual experience people consider 1 minute's illness of some patient who actualize perseverance with thankfulness equal to 1 hour worship, and 1 minute's illness of certain spiritually uplifted individual equals to 1 hour worship. MashaAllah, one minute of illness, just like as if we pray for 1 hour. Oh, this is great. Yeah. So as a mu'min, those who believe in Allah perceive that illness as one who is afflicted is not a loss, but or rather it is more likely to be a gain, a psychological and spiritual gain. Yes, of course, if 1 minute of sickness equal to 1 hour, it is a gain. It is psychological and spiritual gain. Yeah. A believer, according to Sanusi, who attain higher level of spirituality, may at times even develop a pleasant and spiritually enjoyable experience. When we read the stories of the awliya or the saint of Allah, if they are not afflicted with something, they will think that or it occurs to them that they must have or their relationship with Allah is in a way distance, or there is something wrong with them. So this is because of their close relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So through pain or illness, we actually make to realize the bounty and the beauty of Allah's kindness on humankind. This is the kindness and mercy of Allah to give this to people who are suffering and people who are sick. Yeah, He gives us the experience of suffering to enable us to get His reward. Yeah, because whenever we are sick, if we are patient and thankful to Allah, we get reward. We are rewarded. If we endure the suffering without complaint and earnestly supplicate to Him, we deserve more than we thought. Yeah, and of course, people who are in pain, who are suffering, of course, whatever they say accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they are close to Allah. Illness as a divine gift from Allah. Yeah. So illness is as important and valuable divine gift for people who contemplate and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who never contemplate, never think beyond physical thing, or never remember Allah, so they may not realize this. They cannot appreciate. Yeah, but those who contemplate, who do the tafakkur, who do the tazakkur, remember Allah, he will see this, he perceive this illness or difficulty in life or suffering as valuable divine gift from Allah. Illness make people think of their afterlife and remind them of death, and thus prepare themselves for hereafter. Yeah. So it is good to have illness. It is good to have difficulty, because it makes us to think about our destiny, our afterlife, and hereafter. Yeah. Since there are benefits in illness, men should not complain. Yeah, according to Sanusi, but we should bear it with patience, reliance of Allah, with gratitude. Yeah? We thanks Allah, gratitude, and confidence in His mercy. That's why we say tribulation as His divine mercy. Yeah, from divine mercy. Yeah, and illness, actually, through illness, we can get a gift of mercy, i.e., spiritual vision as a divine favor for some people, including one of them is Said Nursi himself. He had a lot of spiritual vision, whereby he explained to us, he described to us through the process of contemplation on particularly the topic we discussed today about pain. Yeah, and he see there are a lot of virtues in pain. Yeah, illness. Yeah, this is the next reflection of Sanusi. He said, illness as advisor and admonisher. Sorry. If life is not for illness and suffering, present the world as pleasant and make people forget Allah and the hereafter. Yeah, we are complacent, and then we never seek, we never being in difficulty physically and emotionally. Yeah, so we may forget Allah. We may forget Allah, and we forget akhirah. We forget hereafter. Forget about the thought of death and grave. Yeah, people even want to be away from death and grave. People do not like to talk about death. People do not speak. People do not like to speak about grave and the things that related to grave and death, because they are afraid. Yeah, and when they are in good health and ease cause them to be lack of appreciation and waste the life. This is considered as wasting in their life, and lack of appreciation, not grateful to Allah, ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when there is pain come, make them think otherwise. Yeah. Illness may create the awareness that the body is mortal and it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So of course, when the body is mortal means we thought about death. Yeah. Today, for example, people to show how people are so attached to the world, people love dunya so much, they don't want to be old. So they try in everything, yeah, not to look for elderly people, they want to look younger. They speak about all kind of products that anti-aging and all this. I do not say that I'm against well-being or physical well-being and emotional well-being, but the attitude that put aside talking about death, for example, or talking about things related to hereafter is not favorable. This is not healthy. Yeah. So talking about death actually it is great. It is very nourishing for spiritual nourishment. Yeah. Human being, man has to thank Allah for illness, and if it gives much trouble and pain, he should be patient. Yeah, because of the gain and because of the benefit of talking about illness or yeah. Indeed, suffering causes people to remember Allah and hence create a closer relationship with Allah. Yeah, had it not been for suffering, physical pain or spiritual pain or emotional pain, some people or many people actually do not even remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when they have pain, mashallah, they are very close to Allah. They pray a lot, they make dua a lot, they make zikr a lot. So their life become better spiritually. It is indeed through the illness men come to know His name. When we are sick, we call Ya Shafi, we call Ya Latif, Ya Kareem, Ya Shafi, the all healing. Since suffering and disaster manifest the decrease and operation of some of His names, there are in them glimpses of wisdom and rays of mercy within which are numerous bounties. So we begin to understand the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By so doing, we become closer to Him. Yeah, whether in prayer or in zikr. Yeah. Positive way looking at death. People, when there is sickness help people to appreciate death. Yeah, people are fearful in general and distressed due to the reason that illness sometimes leads to death. To know and to believe that with certainty that death definitely will come and does not change. That's what we should do. Yeah, I mean to have positive way looking at death. Yeah, we should know and we should believe that death is inevitable, will come. and death is not frightening as it appears to be, but death rather is a discharge from the hardship of duties of this world, this life, this life full of tribulation, difficulties, and after death there is no more. So it is also known as interval of worship, in which this world is regarded as place for training and trial arena. Of course, people fear death because of the sin, because of the not knowing the reality of death itself, and lack of preparation, maybe. Death is a means of reunion with those relatives. This is good things, and beloved ones who already immigrated to the other world. So Rasulullah SAW mentioned that death is a bridge which unites friend to friend, and the world is a paradise for infidels. This is hadith. They say this hadith is da'if hadith, but it is good for guidance, not for related to the legal ruling and so on and so forth. But a prison for the faithful. Ad-dunya jannatun lil kafirin wa sijnun lil mu'minin. Nursi gave good news that death is also regarded as entrance of true homeland and eternal happiness. And happiness in the paradise in the hereafter is increasing. An invitation from the world of paradise, and it is the time when mankind receive wages from their service in the world. So it's a good place to expect. Death as the opening to mercy and happiness, while for people with misguidance, it is unfortunately as the dam of misery. Illness arouses Allah's mercy. This is another reflection, that when a person is in the state of suffering or facing difficulties in life, it will arouse sympathy in the hardest heart and attract kindness and compassion, which is true indeed. And it will certainly attract God's compassion towards that person. People, even between human beings, when you are sick, for example, you become, people have a lot of mercy and empathy and compassion towards people who are sick. Through one glimpse of Allah and through one manifestation of His mercy, He fills the earth with bounties. Moreover, with all its wonders, paradise, which is the abode of eternal happiness, constitute a single manifestation of His mercy. Thus, the relationship of Him through belief, recognition of Him, entreating Him through the voice of helplessness that is found in one's illness, and the loneliness in exile will surely attract His mercy towards him or her. So people who are in difficult life, their relationship with Allah are very close because of the voice of helplessness found in people who are living in trouble or in the loneliness in exile. So the believers do not fall into despair, but rather turn to God in worship. But on the contrary, the disbelievers, they are in the opposite direction, and there is no such thing as worship. There is no connection with Allah. Illness bring respect and mercy and sincerity and good words. Illness encourage admiration and empathy. These are talking about relationship, the benefit or significance of illness, and social interaction. People who are suffering from illness difficulty, they become more humane. So they become more loving, and those who do not experience difficulty, maybe they feel self-sufficient and leads to unfriendliness and wickedness. This is from the evil soul, make people self-reliance due to good health, because they don't experience difficulty, no pain, no experience of misery in their life. So they have good, healthy, and wealthy, and does not feel compassion to others, and who are affected by disaster, although they need compassion and empathy. Yeah. So illness as self-reminder. When we are sick, we are helpless and realize the suffering of others. Yeah. So this is very important in terms of you become empathy and encourage admiration and empathy in good relation with others. Yeah. Illness as self-purification. Yeah. Sickness washes away the dirt of sin. Yeah. This is so many times mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith. Yeah. Sins are everlasting illness in the eternal world and the Akhirah. They are also perpetual illness of the heart, conscience, and spirit in this worldly life. Yeah. If human beings persevere and do not complain, they are being saved from numerous perpetual illness through that temporary illness. So that's why when we are having illness in this world, we are being saved from the illness in the hereafter. But if human beings do not worry about sin and are not aware of the afterlife or do not recognize Allah, they will have such illness that it is 1,000,000 times worse than the present illness. So just ask yourself whether to have illness in this world or to have the eternal illness in the eternal life, which is unbearable. Particularly since mankind is not aware of the hereafter and imagine death to be external extinction, it is as they have a body afflicted with uncountable wounds and illness. Yeah. Belief as the cure for the spiritual wound and illness for the body. Yeah. So he speak about the role of iman, the role of belief. The creed must be corrected, and the best way to correct it is to recognize the power and mercy of the Creator through the innate importance and weaknesses. Yeah. Illness can erase the evil power. This is very interesting, very significant. Serious illness will save people from the domination of the carnal soul. Illness, loneliness, suffering will bring the bounties of Allah if it is perceived with spiritual vision. Basira, we mentioned in Surah Al-A'raf just now. The spiritual vision, illness and suffering will provide a means of closer relationship with God. Yeah. Nursi said that if the human spiritual visions are unveiled, we will be able to perceive that illness has been sent to man's body as a guest. This is from the section or reflection of Saint Nursi. Yeah. So much so, it will carry out many duties like purifying the valuable life. Yeah. So this is the role of sickness, and strengthening and developing it, as well as making other members and other faculties in the body turn in assistance toward the part of man that is unwell, and displaying the imprint of various name of the all-wise maker, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Distress, anxiety as the root of sickness of the soul. Yeah. So people should not worry too much when they are suffering from pain or difficulty, for worrying make the illness worse. Yeah. So he advised that do not exaggerate the feeling of worry. Yeah. When we have difficulty, worry, anxiety, and all this. Worry is normal, but if it is exaggerated, it becomes phobia. It's a form of neurotic behavior which is abnormal. Yeah. To think about the benefit of illness this is one should do. Yeah, to think about the benefit of illness. This is the spiritual reward it brings. Yeah. When we think about benefit of illness, we have to think about the spiritual reward from this illness. Yeah. Worry will indeed double the burden of illness instead of in physical illness. Rather, it causes the immaterial illness to the heart, in which the physical illness depends and persists. So he speak about the body and soul relationship. When you worry, you actually, instead of reduce the worrying, never reduce, but instead it will add more problem. Yeah. Sometimes a minor physical illness become tenfold just through worries and apprehension, as what we said just now. So minor physical illness become tenfold because of worrying, because of anxiety. Pleasure of Allah and protection from the temptation of this worldly life. So pain, suffering actually can lead to we get pleasure of Allah and protection from temptation of this worldly life. To obtain the approval and pleasure of Allah and be safe from the temptation of this worldly life, and to attain eternal happiness, the mu'min, the believers, have to abide by two principles according to Said Nursi. First principle is very important, is the contemplation of death. Don't be afraid of death, but to complete about death. Yeah. Thinking of the world as transitory, is temporary, is a short time, and realizing that they are transient guests in the world who have many duties. They work for the eternal life. And second principle, is in order to be safe from the danger of carnal or evil commanding soul and blind passion, they have to control and domesticate the evil commanding soul through austerity, through mujahadah, and through asceticism. In Arabic term, we call it zuhud, or being zahid. Yeah. Asceticism. Yeah. So, in conclusion, Nursi's views illness is from the divine mercy and justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thus sustain his spiritual meaning to illness and tribulation. He even emphasized that there are virtues in pain and suffering, as the topic of this slides reflects. Yeah. One requires spiritual maturity and self-discipline to reach this level. Yeah. So in order to see, in order to get insight, to get the basira about the significance of pain or difficulty or suffering, one first need to be spiritually matured. And how to reach spiritual maturity? Of course, through self-discipline, through mujahadah, through tazkiyatun nafs. Yeah. Only the faithful servant of Allah Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Azza wa Jalla, who fully submit to Him and trust His divine mercy and wisdom in running the whole universe, shall experience the gratifying taste of submission. Insha'Allah. Hope all of us will get this. Insha'Allah. We have to start with the process of fikr, tafakkur, and then tazakkur, and then tadabbur, and then insha'Allah, Allah will grant us spiritual maturity, so that when we face any suffering in this life, we appreciate, we thank, we be patient, and then we enjoy it, insha'Allah. With that, I think this is the end of the lecture. So I hope I myself, I appreciate, I have to contemplate on this issue of death, have to contemplate on the issue of suffering, have to contemplate the issue of hereafter and things related to that concept, inshallah, in order to not worry and to be calm, and inshallah we are rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay.
It's just coincident that our last topic is about death. And it is said that hikmah only will come to people who knows or remember about death.
Yes.
Without death, hikmah will never come to you. So we invite all friends. Let me check in our chat box. I think we still have 20 minutes. If you want to ask live, just let us know. We'll unmute. Okay, as usual, my brother Nuruddin has a long question. Prof, in the secular Western tradition, there is a discourse about the problem of evil. Where do they think that if God exists, why does suffering arise in this world? Meanwhile, in Eastern tradition, such as Hinduism, there is a tendency to place suffering as a path of spiritual liberation. For example, many ascetics practice self-torture through various hard exercises to reach spirituality through all kinds of pain and suffering. She must accept. How do you respond to these two trends based on Islamic teaching? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very good example and question.
Yeah. Brother Nuruddin, his question, mashallah, high standard, high class. Mashallah. I remember last week he had a very long question. First part I respond. First part about contemplation, and second part. I think I don't remember whether I respond or not. The second part of his question about the mainstream of Western psychology, or psychology does not accept the concept of correlation between sin and pathological behavior. Yeah. Of course, I already mentioned about the contemplation. Of course, it's a deep thinking about reality. What are reality? About God, about nature, about creation of God, and about God himself. I mean, yeah, about his attributes and his name. Yeah, I mean, this contemplation. Yeah, but about the second part of his question, which is very long question. So correlation, though it denied by mainstream of psychology, but I think we as a Muslim, we have our own stand, and based on our own worldview and values, which sin is one of is part of our belief system. So if we throw away our belief system is a framework of our psychological foundation. Otherwise, for how long we're going to rely, or we're going to depend, or we're going to trust Western psychology? Okay, that's my reply. Yeah. So I believe there is strong connection. I truly agree. I agree with. I appreciate, in fact, Ibn Qayyim speak about correlation between sin and pathological behavior. I mean, if you do more research, I think you'll find the answer very clearly. Yeah. But his question on problem of evil just now. Problem of evil, if we go to philosophical question, it's very difficult to find answer. But if we go to Tasawwuf perspective, I think it will be better. It will be easier for us to understand. Yeah. So of course the issue of qada and qadar, I mean the way the Tasawwuf people explain qada and qadar is different from mutakallimin or mutakallim is not bad, from the philosophers, or particularly Western philosophies, of course, which deny God. So they blame problem of evil related to God. So I do not want to put myself into philosophical question to deal with this issue, but I will go to path of spiritual liberation, which advocated by Eastern tradition. Yeah. So for them is a path of spiritual a group like what do you call this, Buddhists. Yeah, Buddhists, for example, they have path of spiritual liberation. Of course, we do not say that they are. They stick to self-control very much. Yeah, to control the carnal soul, to control the inner self, in order to get spiritually, to liberate our spirituality. Yeah, the concept seems to be closer to Islam, but the way is different. I mean, how Muslim liberate oneself in this context. Yeah, in Islam, the more we submit to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the more free we become. The more we submit to Allah, the more we liberate ourselves. What do I mean by that? For example, you submit to Allah through the act of prayer, the act of zikr, the act of fasting. You fully submitting to Allah, you liberate yourself from the control or the subjugation of carnal or negative soul or carnal soul. Yeah. So there is look like a similarity here between the teaching of Buddhism in some respect, but the way we explain is different. For Muslim, the more you submit to Allah, the more you liberate yourself. Yeah, you get freedom. Yeah, freedom here we call it we get freedom through the process of ikhtiyar. You choose. There are only two things to choose: whether to choose to do good or to choose to do evil. Yeah. So if you choose to do good, you liberate yourself from being a slave to your carnal soul, right? And also, of course, related to influence of shaitan and all this. But if you choose to do bad, though you say you are free to choose, but when you choose to commit evil, for example, you are no longer freeing your soul. You actually become slave to the carnal soul, or slave to shaitan, or slave to your own negative self. Yeah, so that much I can respond.
The one simple question but deep here. I want to ask Prof, what do you think about the effect of sincerity and patience in ibadah on religious behavior?
Sincerity and
patience.
Yes. On
religious behavior, on ibadah and religious behavior.
Religious behavior. Okay. Yeah. Issue of sincerity or ikhlas. Ikhlas is the core of belief system. It's the core of ibadah, because if you don't have ikhlas, your ibadah, but to reach the level of ikhlas 100% is almost impossible. Yeah. Ikhlas, of course, like Imam Al-Ghazali mentioned, that if you are praying and then a goat came to the place of your prayer. For example, you pray in a surau in a village. So goat came or come to you, and then it is almost impossible for you not to not to think about God, or to concentrate 100% khusyuk to Allah. There must be little bit also your heart goes to think about that, something like that. So meaning to say here, it is very difficult. We cannot if we can put in percentage, for example, maybe people do something, the level of ikhlas 80%, 20%, 100% is very difficult. But anyway, I mean, if you are ikhlas, Allah accept your ibadah. That between us and Allah, Allah accept. When Allah accept your ibadah, of course, there is a lot of blessing from the action itself, sincerity itself. I mean, even patient. Also, when you speak about patient is power of patient. And whether of course blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah loves you so much when you sincere and you have patience. This is the impact or the benefit when you have sincerity and patience. But in your religious behavior, you get a lot of blessing, and then your behavior become like as if you have seed and you grow, and you have fruits and you have fruits of your ibadah. This is very, very important. Yeah, when you have ikhlas and you have patience in your ibadah, you have as if you have fruits of your tree. Yeah, when you grow tree, you have seed, you grow, and then you enjoy the fruits. MashaAllah. And of course, at the end, you make you happy. You bring happiness and tranquility when you are ikhlas. You're not practicing. You are not hypocrite. You are not. You are sincere to yourself, and you are truthful. Yeah. So this is very, very important element to make people happy in this world and the hereafter, inshallah. Yeah.
We invite our dear brother Said to pose question. Said, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I didn't see that you opened up the microphone, Ustad Shahran. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. Professor Fatimah, thank you so much for your great presentation once again. And we wish to have more lectures with you in the future, inshallah. It's so beneficial, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We learn so much. I just have maybe my question is too clinical, Professor Fatimah. So please, if you feel it's too much clinical psychology, I understand. But it's just I have a reality where I meet a lot of people and I have so many questions, but perhaps other participants can also join in the discussion. Because when it comes to suicidal patients, Professor Fatimah, we know, of course, in Islam, suicide is haram. It's only Allah who decides when our time is done in dunya. But you can meet people, I personally experienced that, who interpretate death as a way to enter internal happiness and true homeland, as Nursi says in one of the slides that you showed. And I'm just wondering, what can we do with a patient that is stuck in this mind state? They feel that dunya is too much of trials. They cannot handle it. They are very depressed. And they see it as, now I'm going to enter internal happiness. Because this is, even though it's stigmatized within the Islamic community, this is a reality that we can find in some people. Jazakallah khair.
Allah. Yeah, very clinical questions. Yeah, I don't know whether I can actually respond to this, but I think it must be very, very complicated when you have. I remember when I was principal in one of the in my university in one of the mahalla. So we have one student try to commit suicide because of his from kuliah, from faculty of law, because the parent forced her to take the course which she doesn't like. Yeah. So her reason of attempt to suicide because she feels that she's not interested and the course is difficult for her. She feels his life is useless. So she tried to kill herself. So I was not I was not dealing with the case. I did not take the case, but my friend handled it. So we share the experience. So we talked to her. I mean, my friend talked to her and then tried to advise her. It took long, several sessions. So that's how it's ended up with that. She doesn't like her parent. So the case become lighter, much lighter when we know the cause. Yeah. So I think maybe, I mean, any case of suicidal or attempt to suicide, I think we need to know the root cause. I think I give you very, very general answer. Yeah, because different people, different reason for to try to commit suicide. Yeah. Other case also try to commit suicide, but because of this blind love of young people fall in love, and then for simple reason for us, but for them they are too sensitive, and then they take it like a mountain, on the back. So whatever reason, I think first I'm not a proper counselor, so I think maybe other people, B. Jan, for example, maybe she's a counselor, she can, but to me, I think whatever reason, we must have, we should know the root cause of the problem. Yeah.
There's a real case 10 years ago, Prof. This one girl, 16 or 17 years old, the mother took out all the games from her laptop.
Yeah.
He was so frustrated and just jumped from the flat. Jumped from the 17th floor flat.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, Kak Bibi, go ahead.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum. Good evening to all. Professor, thank you very much for the wonderful sharing. I think the topic today is so apt, so important today, because with the new norm pandemic, death is so common. So it's like you hear death practically every day. With the social media, it's worse. You can hear about this death from all corner of the world. Yeah. So I believe that these 7 modules that you have shared with us has been very good. Thank you very much. And I do agree with Brother Syed that we should have a deeper discussion on this. But I just want to share with you, I believe we can have such an enlightening understanding on the concept of pain and suffering. And it can be a great enabler rather than debilitating factor for individuals, especially those who have faith. But what we need to do is the process. It has to be established among us. I mean, it's not enough just to have, we claim that we have faith, but I think the process is the missing one. So, I mean, it's quite easy to say that we need to have tazakkur, we need to have all these processes in place. I've been working with people of different faith, particularly the Christians and all that. They have a very strong tradition of engaging and empowering the clients, people who have this problem, not just cognitively but also effectively and spiritually. So I do believe that just like what you've been asking about, for some people who are young, because we know, I mean, now with the neuroscience, the brain actually developed for male maximum, the latest would be 28 years old, 25 to 28. That's the maximum, the latest. But for young people, sometimes they act very rashly and it's more on impulsive behavior. But there are people who have severe chronic disorder, mental disorder. For example, people who have psychotic, or people who have schizophrenia. I mean, these are people I mean, I believe that if they were to commit suicide, I think not because they fail or they are being driven by whatever suffering or pain. I mean, sometimes they may not even aware of what they are doing. That is a different category altogether. Compared to those who are doing it intentionally, that's a different ball game. So I think. Yes, I believe that being Muslim, being a practitioner, whether academic or practitioner, we have to put our act together by establishing the processes. I think we need to have this conversation, and we for the non-Muslim community, they have this conversation, faith among women group, faith among youth, faith among the family. So they got this small group conversation circle. But I think for us, we have to have such we don't have to follow exactly model after them, but we have our own tazkira, we have our own usra. I think we can develop such group to facilitate the conversation, to have a proper understanding of a lot of things in life, not just death. There are so many things we are doing at superficial level, so we don't go for deep dive learning. So our learning is very shallow, you see. So now I think they're talking about deep blue sea learning. Are we going into that mode of learning, or are we still touch and go, surface level?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bibi. Yeah, very good observation, mashallah.
Prof, we give you a longer time to summarize all the 7 lectures.
All the 7 lectures
in 7 minutes.
In 7 minutes, yeah, subhanallah. I think from the very beginning, I speak about spirituality. Of course, it's all about character building. How to have spiritual.
Prof, please unmute, Prof.
Okay, all right, yeah. So since from the first lecture I spoke about the necessity or the importance of spirituality. I mean, it is every individual Muslim should make effort to go up to through spiritual ladder, to struggle. We call it, of course, Al-Ghazali and many others mentioned as tazkiyatun nafs, through knowledge, and then knowledge about the self, knowledge about Allah, to know His attributes, His name, so that we can behave the way Allah deal with us. For example, when we speak about mercy of Allah, we speak about Rahman of Allah, we speak about justice of Allah. How do we actually apply that? So knowing the names and attributes of Allah is very, very important for Muslim in order for us to become our guideline in our character building. So speaking about spirituality, when we do things, we suppose, to upgrade. Upgrade. So there should be a ladder of spirituality here. We speak about Islam, we speak about Iman, when we speak about Ihsan. And all this actually goes to one thing about correction of our character. If we speak about knowing ourselves, every moment, every day. That's why the concept of tawbah in Islam is extremely important. Some people think tawbah you have to once in a while, but to my understanding, tawbah is the feeling that humility towards Allah, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Rasulullah make how many times a day his tawbah, in in relation to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. We as normal human being, I think we should review ourselves through the process through the act of tawbah in order to upgrade ourselves, to improve, to become a person who are benefit to other people, benefit to ourselves, benefit to our family, and benefit to other people. Without having the process of purifying self, is very difficult to become useful Muslim. Yeah, because some of us may not even aware of negative character if we do not go through the process of reviewing ourselves through process of tawbah. Yeah, so to me it's extremely important. Yeah, the word istighfar, we say istighfar sounds simple, but actually this is the key to character building to me. Yeah, so to know, at least we begin to review ourselves. Yeah, otherwise how do we know the strength and the weaknesses of ourselves? This is the gist of, I think, yeah. And contemplation is the key to good behavior. Yeah, to contemplate. Because contemplation bring change all the negative one to positive one. Yeah. So it is through process of contemplation, and then through the process of contemplation, we upgrade one more stage. Whenever there is urge from carnal or desire to waswasa from shaitan or from our own self, we have the defense, we have the mechanism. I don't mean defense mechanism in the Western perspective, but we have the way to protect ourselves, inshallah. So we are facing this every moment, every day. So this is the whole thing actually. Self-centered. I mean, I don't mean self-centered is a negative one, but just to focus on ourselves, inshallah. This is the way of to develop actually ourselves, inshallah. So by so doing, inshallah, we become better Muslim and useful to other people. Yeah, inshallah. And
Thank you.
Good personality. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think this pandemic really gives us space and time to reflect ourselves. Because when we talk about death, that's around the corner. We know our friends, our close one, got affected by this pandemic, and who has passed away. So I think the scholars, the counselors, those who has religious background, has to play their role, have to touch everyone. That those who are affected can be consoled, can move forward, and take a lesson from it. So, okay, Prof. We look forward to have more sessions with you in different opportunities, inshallah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again in the next session of our classes. We'll keep everyone updated. Assalamualaikum.